Being here. Been a very eventful last couple of weeks, and excited certainly for signing day today. A chance to welcome a tremendous group of new Trojans here to our university and to our football team. Certainly feels a lot different than this day 12 months ago. You know, when we signed 7 high school players, a year ago at this time, and we're constructing a roster in a pretty unique way, and it certainly feels good to be in a position where you feel like there's a number of high school guys across the country that you can bring in to make a difference in your program, and certainly a little bit more traditional in the way that we want to build this program going forward, where the majority of our scholarships are going to guys that are high school players that we get the opportunity to potentially develop them for multiple years, and to have those relationships from the beginning. The transfer portal, I think, as long as rules don't change, I'm sure will always be a part of what we do. But certainly, I would say this cycle feels a little bit more normal, and is probably more representative of how we would like to build this roster in the coming years. It's been a tremendous group, really, to recruit. And I said earlier on the Pac-12 call, the last 12 months for us as a staff have been very kind of eye-opening and very educational as far as we are learning more about USC every day that we're here. And the goal in this, and what you try to do, is as you learn about your institution, you learn about guys that do very, very well and are very successful here. And we've got to understand and embrace that our university, in terms of a setting for a Division I college football team, is very unique when you compare it to our competitors and really the rest of the college football world. And there's absolutely some things that make us stand out. The quality education, obviously our location, and all that comes with being a football player and a student athlete here at USC. But that also provides additional challenges that our student athletes are asked to meet and face on a daily basis. And I think as we as the staff, with most of us being new, have learned more about that, it's helped us zero in on the kind of guys that not only are you excited to sign, and yeah, there's great excitement on signing day, right? Everybody is really looking forward to all these new players become part of the program, but you got to look further than that, right? The goal is not to win signing day, the goal is to win championships, and you do that with not only bringing in great players, but also people that are going to be very successful in your given environment. And we feel like we've done that with this class. It's been a really fun class to recruit. I really appreciate the guys, their families. They've really been tremendous. And you've got to understand, a large number of these guys, made their commitment to USC, to this staff, this program, this university, before some of the success happened on the field. And so these guys, weren't necessarily guys, a lot of them, that maybe jumped on the bandwagon late. These were people that in large part believed in what we were doing from a very early time. And that means a lot, certainly to us as a staff, and I think it should mean a lot to all the Trojan fans out there, that these guys wanted to be a part of it there in the beginning, and several have been. And so very, very thankful to them, to their families, and really just a tremendous group, and look forward to answering any questions individually that you all have about the players we were fortunate enough to sign today. Our preparation for the Cotton Bowl is ongoing. We've had a number of really, really good practices. The guys have continued, I think, the momentum from the season, and really from even before the season, in terms of the way we've practiced and our approach to going and playing this game. And I can tell you, our players are excited about this. They really are. They have practiced well. They did a lot of great work with our strength and conditioning staff as we were out on the road recruiting, traveling the country. And that was apparent when we got back on the field, that physically they were in a great place, I think mentally in a great place, and they were just really eager to be back out there practicing. And so we're certainly very much looking forward to that. We will practice here for the next 3 days. Then we're going to give our guys a chance to get home and have a quick 3-day break for Christmas, which that's the advantage of being able to play and earn your way into a New Year's Six game and a late bowl game, is your guys get an opportunity to get a lot of work here, to get a lot of practice, but then also a chance to get home before we head down to Texas on the 27th. So I know our guys, after a long stretch here, will certainly be looking forward to spending Christmas at home with their families, and then obviously we'll travel down there and get ready to play in the Cotton Bowl. Roster-wise, guys are doing well. I know there's been some questions about player availability. The big ones right now. I mean, Brett Nealon, as you guys know, I've already announced won't play in the game. Andrew Voorhees is not physically going to be ready to play in the game, so he's going to turn his attention to getting ready for the NFL draft. And he's been just a warrior for us all year long. I know it kills him to not be able to play, but right now it's he put it on the line for this team all year, and I can't say enough about him and the job he's done, and obviously had a tremendous career here at USC, and he'll be a big part of our bowl prep going on, just in a little bit different way. And then Jordan Addison has elected to continue to rehab his ankle injury, which has been kind of ongoing since the middle of the season, so he will not play in the game as well. Other than that, we expect all the guys that are on the roster to be available, to be ready to play, and we'll be looking forward to getting down to the Dallas area here very soon. With that, we'll take some questions.
Lincoln, you mentioned kind of zeroing in on kind of the guys that you thought would be successful in this environment. What is kind of the profile of the player that you think would be successful here?
Great question. I think first is you have to have a player that's academically motivated. This institution has its reputation as one of the elite degrees that you can earn, not only anywhere in the country, but anywhere in the world. But you have to earn that, and it's not easy. It's going to be extremely valuable for every person here that gets their degree at USC, but you have to put the work in on the front end. And I think being here with a year with our guys, and I give our current team credit. I mean, we've broken GPA records here for the football team in both the summer and the spring semester, the 2 semesters that we've been here. So we've been very proud about how our current team has performed academically, but you have to have guys that are motivated that way. And I think that is a big part of it. The second thing has been, our team this year, when we look back, we still obviously got one great opportunity ahead, but I think when we look back at the team this year and kind of how it'll be remembered and defined, I don't, certainly in my mind, we're going to have more talented teams going forward. In reality, I think when we look back 10 years from now, this will probably be in some ways maybe one of the less talented teams that we'll have. But in terms of chemistry, the locker room being right, just kind of the vibe and culture around our team, these guys have been outstanding, and that's been our ace in the hole all year. That's been the thing that separated us and gave us a chance to win a lot of games and go on a pretty cool run here in year one. And so continuing to find guys that add to that, not only to the talent level, but that add to the culture we want down there in that locker room, and that we want out on the field, it was very, very key to us. And that's something we've worked hard to establish here in the first 12 months. And we damn sure are not gonna let that start to fade away as we build this roster up and we build the talent level. And so finding guys that want to be a part of that was I think essential. And I think the last thing is finding guys that want to embrace the opportunities that you have here all the way around. I mean, this is not a small town college setting. This is a big market. There's bright lights on you every single day. There's big opportunities both on and off the field, and you have to find guys that I think embrace that are ready to handle that. And I think it takes a unique individual to do that. And so, I just think you take so many of these guys and you say right place, right time, and a lot of times that's when you see the most success. And for us, it's getting the right player at the right time. And I think a year ago, a lot of us as a staff we were still learning in a lot of ways what we were getting ourselves into here, and maybe what exactly the ideal USC football player looked like. And I think we're a lot more comfortable in both our evaluations of what it takes and then our evaluations of the guys that we're bringing in.
Lincoln, Malachi Nelson's someone you came out to recruit in Southern California. You were at Oklahoma and brought him here when you first got here. Just what kind of talent did you notice, or what was your kind of assessment of him during the recruiting process and throughout the whole time you recruited him?
Yeah, Malachi's, I've always thought a really unique talent. His ability to throw the ball and process at a young age is he's certainly well ahead of his years there and very, very impressive. And then, yeah, you're right. Throughout a long recruiting process with him and his family, I think the just comfort factor in getting to know, who he is as a person, getting to know his family, the way he's raised, his goals. We've seen him improve throughout the years, even when he was getting offers and a lot of attention very early on. I feel like the kid has really continued to work hard and wants to improve. And I think a lot of those things I just listed in terms of, what we're looking for at USC, he fits. And then as far as what we're looking for at the quarterback position, I mean, he's a guy that I feel like has an extremely bright future as a player, as a leader, and as a winner. And that's what we have to have in that position.
Again, you talked about just having so many of those guys committed, up to a year ago. How did that change just the strategy going through this recruiting process, and even maybe going into the portal in terms of what you're doing there? Just knowing what you had so far.
Yeah, it definitely helps, right? It wasn't certainly as much of a mad rush as it was at this time last year, and that's what you hope. I mean, you're one of the obviously one of the premier universities in college football programs in the country. Like, you feel like it should be like this, and the reality is you're right. I think we were fortunate that a number of guys in this class, we had relationships with before some of us came here. I think what we'll see more and more in the future is, now as a staff, not only will we personally have relationships, but they'll have relationships with us here as USC coaches and staff. And I think when you're able to build that trust both between us, families, players, I think that's when you see some of the guys like Malachi and like Zach and like Makai, and there's several others that really jumped on board early and wanted to be a part of this. And I think it does help you define what else you're looking for. I think it sends a message to other players across the country that, hey, these guys kind of plant their flag in the ground and say, I'm going to do this at USC. And I think that helps bring others along for the ride. And so certainly some of those early guys getting on board here quickly was important. And I think that'll be something that we'll shoot for, and I think we will have more of as time continues to go on. But absolutely, that defining makes a big difference for us, and also it eliminates a lot of inefficiencies and wasted motions going after all kinds of guys when you know what you have right here.
To kind of build off of that, you mentioned the guys who bought in before there was kind of proof of concept on the field for this roster. How have you noticed the success of the program this year impacting conversations with targets for the late signing period or the 2024 class?
Well, it's had an impact, right? There were people that, either didn't know maybe a ton about us as a staff, or maybe even not a ton about USC at that point, that maybe it wasn't realistic for maybe them to jump on that early. There was still certainly wait and see with a number of prospects out there, but yeah, you feel the difference, right? I mean, everybody sees, the direction of where this is headed. They see the proof. They see the run that this team went on. And again, in reality, I mean, I'll be disappointed if this isn't the worst team that we have in our entire tenure here. And I say that I've loved coaching this team, loved it. But we want to continue to do this. And I think everybody in our locker room right now, this current team, whether they're coming back or whether they've getting ready to play their last game as a USC Trojan, everybody wants that. I mean, I think this team is really has taken it personal to be. They've kind of made it their mission to be the start of something new, right? There's only one team that'll ever get to start a great run, and I think this team up to this point, they've done their part, and we need to go finish it and play really well in the Cotton Bowl. But this team has given this program a chance to really start something special here, and I think that's important to everybody in that locker room, and it's sent a message, I think, to recruits all over the country. And the reality is, this is just the tip of the iceberg here. I mean, this is still so bottom level for what this program can be, and I think that's the genuine excitement that you feel in our halls and with our current team and with our future guys out there, this could be the start of something really, really special. And you better jump on or watch us go by.
Yeah, I know you mentioned that this was kind of more of a traditional recruiting type of thing. Like I said, the portal is there, it's gonna be here, we saw the impact that it had. Just how has that changed, like the recruiting, maybe your strategy, I guess, knowing that, you know, you can have these guys come in and kind of make an immediate impact?
Yeah, it's something you evaluate at every single position. And I think it's up to us to assess the value of, do we need a player that maybe there's a better chance for immediate help, which generally you would say the portal is going to provide that, versus would you rather have a player that you've got a chance to have them and develop them their entire career? And at every position it's different. And so we'll continue to assess that. But I mean, the reality is these high school guys are competing with portal guys for their spots, and these portal guys are competing with high school guys for their spots. And that's just the reality of it. I mean, there's more players, there's more options out there. And I think, you know, in every given year, at every position, you've got to look at that. At the end of the day, you've got to be able to boil it down to what's going to be best for our football team. And that's what we've tried to do. And so I certainly, personal preference is to have it closer to what we're doing this year versus last year. But there's, with the interest that we have in coming here, and obviously the obvious success that we've had with it, the portal is always going to have a role here.
Zachariah Branch is an especially exciting talent. Does he remind you of anybody? And do you recall the first time you noticed him on the recruiting trail?
Yeah, we had recruited both Zach and his brother Zion, Summit, Oklahoma. So the family would come out there and yeah, I mean, I remember seeing Zach when he was pretty young, and it was apparent quickly that his explosiveness was very, very unique. And again, you kind of talk about guys that you think fit kind of the USC mold. I mean, you know, both he and his brother, I mean, they've been raised by two outstanding parents. They're great students, they're great kids. Like, they embrace everything about what it means to be a Trojan. And yeah, I mean, they're in a lot of ways kind of the blueprint, honestly, the guys that are the total package. And so Zach is a special talent. His explosiveness is very, very rare. You go a lot of years and not come across a guy that has that elite explosiveness combined with just really, really good football skills. A lot of times you have to pick one or the other. Maybe the raw player that maybe is not quite developed on the football field yet, or vice versa. And he's one of the very few that has both. And I think, you know, when you combine him with Mekhi Lemon, who we think is very, very special as well, that tandem right there is as good as anywhere you'll find in the country.
Back in April, we asked you about NIL and how much it changed recruiting. Now that you've had another 8 months to kind of see how it's evolved, what have been your thoughts on the role it's been playing?
Well, NIL plays a big role. I mean, and the thing that you've seen, you know, out now is every school and everybody has kind of their own spin on it, right? Everybody's got their own strategy on it. And I know a lot of people have talked about, well, you know, the rules are gray, or, you know, the NCAA's, you know, they're enforcing this or not enforcing that. I mean, to me, the rules are pretty clear. I mean, you know, you can't engage with high school players about it. Players can't enter into deals, before they get on campus. You can't have a collective meet with them. I mean, it's pretty simple. There's certainly a lot of people that are, you know, kind of finding their own way to do things, and that's always been the case in college football, though. I mean, it's just probably a little bit more. There's a little more light on it now than maybe ever before, which maybe as time goes on will be a good thing. We'll see how it all plays out. So, and I think with that, just like we've become more comfortable with the university that we're in and learning about the types of players that will do best here, I think, you know, we as a staff have been able to work with our administration and our people to be in a really good place from an NIL perspective. And I think we're very, very confident and secure in the opportunities that our guys are getting. But the reality is, this day and age, listen, you gotta make decisions and on how you're going to handle this, because it is so new and right, there's no manual. I think what we're seeing a lot across the country is, I think you see a lot of people maybe not quite paying attention to the locker room and getting fixated on one recruit here, one recruit there, and you know that's there's some obvious big risk with that, you know, because at the end of the day, this game is still a team game, and the best teams win this game, and so we're going to continue to have a team first focus on it and continue to try to put our guys in a position where they can all do very well on the field, off the field, NIL, all those things. And again, that's one of the great things about this place is we have some built-in advantages that nowhere else has. And so very confident in how that plays out. And yeah, I mean, I think we're kind of in the middle of something new, and I think time will tell what the best strategy is. Not just individually for this player, that player, but looking at your team as a whole, which I believe is my #1 job. So very confident in our direction there, and I think time will prove that.
Do you think you lost any recruits because of NIL?
Yeah, of course we did. I mean, but we're not, everybody did. I mean, and the reality is every, just like every university is different, every family's different, right? Everybody's priorities are different. And I'm, you know, who am I to sit up here and say that this is our correct priority and this is an incorrect, right? It's there's no judgment on it. It's everybody's got their priorities at the end of the day, and we're looking for people whose priorities align with USC's priorities, and USC's priorities are going to be, it's going to be about the team first. It's going to be about the university and education first. NIL is going to be a part of it here and a tremendous opportunity, but it's not ever going to be #1 on the priority list. And if it is, listen, it's not going to be the right fit here. It's not going to be the right fit here anyways. We're looking for guys like the locker room that we have that want the team success first, and they understand if you do it right, then the success individually, whether it's, you know, guys being honored, getting drafted, NIL deals, all that will come. And I mean, listen, we put out an NIL, you know, just kind of based on our experience in the first few months. We had an NIL projection here in terms of what we felt like our team would earn during this first season. And I can tell you, we thought we were pretty aggressive with our projection, and we were about half of what it ended up being. I mean, it ended up being about double what we projected. And so our players have done very well. And I think the Los Angeles community, the community, the general marketplace here, all of the Trojan supporters out there have been really tremendous with our guys, and it's much appreciated.
We have time for one more?
In regard to growing the overall talent level, how would you assess where the defensive talent is at this point in the process?
Well, we took some huge steps. I mean, listen, there's no two ways about it. There were several positions defensively that we landed on and were able to get our very early on high-end targets, and those are really important. I mean, there wasn't a linebacker in the country we wanted more than Tackett Curtis. I mean, I think he's the best inside linebacker in the country. There's not one I would take over him. I think he is phenomenal. We zeroed in on a couple of edge guys pretty early, Braylon Shelby and DJ Peavy, and we love what they bring to the table. And we really zeroed in on a couple of East Coast defensive linemen and Elijah and Sam, and being able to get both of those guys here. You know, both of them having the courage and the trust to make that jump from the East Coast was a great thing. And I do think some of this current team's success from individual players from the East Coast, we obviously have several of them, was a factor there, without a doubt. And so, you know, specifically in the front seven, which I think that was a huge focus point for us going into this class. You know, we've certainly made some noise, and then, you know, obviously we've had, you know, some success in the transfer portal. We will have more here in the coming weeks to continue to add to that. But, you know, front seven was at front and center in all of our minds. And I think when you land on a couple of your top prospects, the way that we did was really a home run for us.
Thank you, Coach Riley.
All right.
Thank you.
Thanks, everybody.
Thanks, Lynn.